Alright, gamers, in this episode of GM Study Hall, today we're going to talk about understanding you as a game master. Hey gamers, welcome back to Game Master's Dungeon. I am Brian, your Game Master, and in this episode of GM Study Hall, we're going to be taking a look at how I can help you understand your limits as a storyteller and some tips on how to improve your storytelling skills. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you enjoy my content, please hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you get instant notification of when I put out new content. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Alright gamers, so what we're going to talk about is understanding your skills as a storyteller. But first, let's start with a little bit of background. So, the art of storytelling has been around since the dawn of civilization, before there was written language. Early man drew pictures on cave walls and told stories that way. Written language come around. They were able to write down these stories so that later generations could enjoy them. And that's basically what you're doing as a GM, as a storyteller. You're creating a story that will hopefully live on in the minds of your players for a very long time. So what do you need to do to improve your skills, to understand yourself? The understanding bit is the hardest part. You need to be overly critical of yourself, of your work as a storyteller. If you're just starting out and you've run your first game, talk to your players and get feedback. Okay, ask them how did they like the story. Let them just kind of brainstorm and let them talk. Let them throw things at you. Make sure you take lots of notes. Now, sometimes you will get negative feedback, and that can be hard for some people. In the beginning, for me, that was hard, taking negative feedback, because I thought I was great, but it turned out that I wasn't. But I've been doing this for a long time, and using that technique, I've improved my skills quite a lot. My players talk about a lot of the stories that I've run, even years ago, 10 years ago. They're still talking about some of the things and games that I did back then. And I never thought that kind of experience would stick with them for as long as it had. And when I found out that it did, it gave me a real sense of accomplishment. I was very proud of myself. So yes, so definitely get feedback from your players, because you're telling the story based on their characters, and what they want is what's going to help make the story better, so that they're going to be excited to play, because you want them excited to play, because if they're not, then the game session kind of dies. All right, so first tip, be overly critical of yourself. Really look at yourself as a storyteller. Second, I would definitely get inspiration for whatever game you're playing. As an example, say you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. You're sitting at home right now watching this video. You've got your book in your lap and your notepad out and you're jotting down ideas. Definitely look at source material, because obviously you've chosen whatever game system it is because maybe you and your players like that setting. Is it futuristic, sci-fi? Is it medieval, sword and sorcery? Whatever it is, anywhere in between, you and your group enjoy that. So obviously you watch movies, read books, listen to music based on that theme, and that's going to give you a lot of help. Don't be afraid to take an idea from a movie or a book and incorporate it into your game, because if you look at, time long past, people have been doing that with other people's work for a long time. So, and your work is going to be mostly private anyway, for your players and yourself. Just in your own dungeon, in your own game room, right? You're telling just a story just for them, and it doesn't really matter if you take ideas from other sources of inspiration. I do it all the time. I did it when I started. I still do it now, because some people might think a little differently than I do, and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I never thought of that. Let's incorporate that. And the last topic is going to be, don't get discouraged. Sure, just because it didn't go as planned or your players didn't like it as you thought they would, don't let that get you down. Take things from the other two topics. So take your feedback and your inspiration from other source material. If you have to take a couple of weeks off from the game to really sit down, work some stuff out, take it. Instead of, so say you play every Saturday, so you played this Saturday, say next Saturday, maybe you guys just get together and play a board game, or maybe some of those inspirational movies. You guys just sit down and watch some movies or whatever. Take a break, let it all sink in, work on your notes, take all that information, and really think about, okay, how am I going to do this differently? And like I said, it'll be tough to be critical of yourself, but you need to be. Especially if you want to create a good story, and if you want to be a great storyteller. Maybe you're just starting out now. Just think 3-4 years from now how great you're going to be, the fun you're going to have, the stories you're going to be able to tell your friends, and the memories that you guys are going to have together in those moments. For me, that's what makes this hobby great. I love being able to talk about things from years ago. Oh, remember that game? You remember that boss? Or you remember that story hook? Remember that plot you had? And man, we couldn't figure it out to the end, and it was such a surprise, and things like that. And the fact that they remember that and it's dear to them gives me, like I said, it gives me a sense of pride, and it makes me want to keep doing it and keep doing it better. All right, gamers, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do hit that like button. If you enjoy my content, please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification. And until I see you again in the dungeon, I'm Brian, your Game Master, and happy gaming.